everyone, welcome to Ad America TV. My name is Aninda, one of the guests here in Ad America. It's really nice to see you all. We hope you all doing well and staying safe at home. For those of you just joined us for the first time, Ad America is the U.S. Embassy's American Center, and our mission is to provide a space for young Indonesians to learn more about the United States. We have moved temporarily to digital platforms so you can enjoy our events from the comfort of your own home. On this event, we'll be discussing applying to U.S. grad schools, what and when to prepare. But before we begin, we have an exciting news for you. Continuing our 10th anniversary celebration, Ad America is inviting you to celebrate Friendship and National Hispanic Heritage Month through US Connected. We are giving away 2 pairs of Apple AirPods for you and your best friend. To know more and how to join this activity, stay tuned until the end of the program because that's when I'll let you know how to join. In the meantime, let's break the ice with a little trivia. The question for today is, the oldest institution of higher education in New York is A. Columbia University, B. Harvard University, C. New York University, or D. Cornell University. You can start typing your answer on our social media because in the end of the event, we will do a live shout out for those of you who can guess the answer correctly. Other than that, don't forget to take a selfie and tag Ad America's Instagram account. Without further ado, please welcome our moderator for today, Kak Vina Alatas, our advisor from Education USA Ad America. Time is yours.
All right. Thank you so much, Anin. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Ad America TV. My name is Vina. I'm one of the advisors for Education USA based in Ad America. But I'm not in Ad America tonight, unfortunately. But I'm very excited about this topic tonight. We have over 200 registrants, so I'm very excited about that. Before we begin, I would like to say hi to everyone who is watching this session from so many different platforms because Ad America is so amazing. We are not only here in Zoom, but we are basically on so many different platforms such as Facebook, Twitter. We are also live on YouTube. We are live on Instagram. And of course, I am now here with the whole Ad America team in Zoom. So if you guys want to join here in Zoom, feel free to do that. But also at the same time, feel free to stay wherever you guys are watching this from. If you have any questions or want to just say hi, please do that in the chat or comment box wherever you are watching this from. And for those of you who will have questions, we already have an amazing Ad America team who will make sure all those questions to be piled up, collected all in one file so that later on after my presentation, we can take a look and answer that for you guys. So before we begin, I would like to just give you a quick slides here to basically meet with the advisors. Again, my name is Vina, and I have my colleague with me, Santika, somewhere in chat. Santika basically will interact with you guys during my presentation. So if you have any questions, Santika will try to answer that in chat, but then we'll take a look at that together also during the Q&A session. So again, there are 2 advisors in Education USA Ad America. And since the pandemic, we are very excited because we are going fully digital, virtual in terms of advising session. And the good news is that we are just similar when we were still in Ad America, we are available 7 days a week, every day. So we are available from 1 until 9 p.m. So at America, it's interesting that way because we don't do the usual office hour, but we start at 1 until 9 p.m. So this is actually really good for those of you who are working. So, and then you want to see one of us in the evening. Well, basically it's going to be me because that's going to be my shift. So yeah, it will be definitely helpful. I leave with you guys the Zoom link ID here, no password. So it's very easy. Just, can take a picture of this number 276-124-396, or Santika will help me send send you the link so that you can save it. And then the next time you want to come in, you can just click that. Okay. Our advising system is first come, first serve. So technically you don't have to make any appointment, but if you want to do that, you can actually go to calendly.com/ I think Santika will help me, correct me with give you the right name. I think it's EducationUSA America or something. But basically, you don't have to make an appointment at the same time. You can basically just come in. As long as there is no advising session going on, you can definitely see one of us. Okay. And then you can see Santika during her shift from 1 until 5. And then I'm doing the rest from 5 until 9 p.m. Okay. Or if you don't feel like, just jump into Zoom and see one of us, because basically when you see me, I'm already turning on my camera, and I kind of like hope that you also turn your camera on, although no pressure, but it's just like, I prefer that. So if you don't feel like, oh my God, I don't want to, like do one-on-one, advising session yet, you can definitely email us first at to jakarta.atamerica@educationusa.org. Feel free, if you want to introduce yourself first, or if you have any quick questions, you can definitely, send that via email. And don't worry, we always check our email. Okay. I'm going to give you a glimpse of our events this month. So we definitely kick off the month of September with this event tonight. So I'm very excited about it. But this coming Saturday, Santika and I, we are also very excited because last month we have 4 series of TOEFL. This month we have 4 series of IELTS. So we are going to start the introduction to IELTS this coming Saturday at 11, same time basically as last month with the TOEFL. If you guys attended that one, maybe you guys want to, kind of like want to see the differences between TOEFL and IELTS. And as you may know, that a lot of universities in the US also accept IELTS. That's why we have this this specific English standardized test. So yeah, it's the same time, 11 until 1. And then we have the next one on September 11, 18, and 25th. Okay. And I'm very excited, next week, same day as tonight, same time as well, we are going to invite one of my good advisees, Kali Windia, who successfully secured the scholarship and then the University of Chicago, for a Master of Public Policy. He also deferred his study to next year, I believe. And so we want to hear everything about it, and like, how did he choose the University of Chicago? And I think he also got accepted to a number of other universities. So we want to hear from him basically everything. And of course, I'm going to touch upon the topic on essay, because Kali and I, we work on the essay together. So I want to hear from him directly, the challenges that he found when he worked on the essay with me, and stuff like that. Okay. So it's going to be Thursday, September 9th at 6:30. And then, of course, my favorite topic, if you've been here with us for some times, you know how I love reading essays. If you don't know, if this is your first time, well, I'm just going to give you a heads up. I love reading essays. So a couple of years ago, I decided to make this essay session every single month, once a month, in fact, where basically, I would pretty much talk about the same thing, but then at the same time, I would also give some new tips, because I'm still learning about, how to write a good statement of purpose, right? So we're going to have this on September the 16th, also on Thursday. So the easiest one, just remember that every Thursday evening on September, or hopefully, upcoming months as well, just think that Thursday evening is going to be most likely going to EducationUSA events, okay? And then the following Thursday, another interesting event. One of my advisees as well, Tommy Aditya, who is now a student at MIT Sloan doing MBA. We invited Tommy the beginning of this year, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, or was it last year? I kind of like lost track of time. But we invited when Tommy was still in Jakarta. But now I invited him again. I want to hear, and I believe you guys also want to hear about his, experience being in the States already. And then of course we're going to talk about, like, MBA some tips if you guys also want to study MBA. Even if you don't plan on studying MBA, but you just basically want to know, how to apply the journey on how to apply to US universities, you can definitely join this session, okay? All of these events that I just mentioned is already available on our website. So please go to that website and then register via Zoom. It's at atamerica.or.id/EducationUSA. And then you can just scroll all the way down and then you will find our upcoming events, okay? All right, are you guys ready? I'm very excited. This might be quite long, but I promise you, hopefully that it will give you a lot of new information. So just a heads up that we are not able to share this PowerPoint slides to you guys. So if you guys need to, see some of the slides in the future, you can basically just go to our YouTube page, EdAmerica's YouTube page, and then, just find whichever slides that you need, okay? So applying to US grad school. So I'm very excited that I'm looking at the participants here and then the numbers are keep going up. So I'm very excited about that. Again, guys, if you have any questions, feel free to give that in the chat, or you can also wait until my presentation is done, okay? So applying to US grad schools, what to prepare and when to prepare. So I don't give this presentation every single month, probably like in a year, about twice or 3 times, but hopefully that you guys are going to learn a lot about this session tonight, okay? So before we begin, what to prepare? To answer the first on the title, right? What to prepare? Let's agree on this first, okay? The list of requirements when you want to study in the US. Some universities may ask you for more documents, or maybe even less than this. Maybe they don't ask for GRE or GMAT, especially if you want to study LLM, right? But in general, definitely TOEFL or IELTS, unless you did your bachelor's degree in a country where English is the first language. So they might waive that. But normally, let's assume that all of us did our bachelor's degree here in Indonesia. We will need to, submit either TOEFL or IELTS, right? And then college transcript, of course, resume or CV. There's also letters of recommendation and another standardized test, GRE or GMAT for some programs. The majority of programs, well, they do ask it, but then they do ask this. But like I said earlier, there are some programs where they don't actually ask for GRE or GMAT, or maybe they even waive. So last year, for example, there were a number of universities that waived because of the pandemic. And then statement of purpose or personal essay. So, but look, before I move on to the next slide, I know for some of you probably, yeah, okay, I already know this, right? Why are you telling me this? But I just want to let you know that I don't put this list on a specific order. And if you see statement of purpose being the last, it doesn't mean that it's the least important document of all these application process. On the contrary, it's actually really, really important. So what I want you to start thinking is that this list of requirements, all of them are really, really important. Okay, so let's start with the fact that English proficiency is very important. If you want to study in the US, English proficiency is very important. I know probably some of you guys are also, yeah, of course. Why are you telling me this again? Hold on, I have a good reason on why I make the specific slides, okay? So let's ask yourself, please ask yourself this first. Can you do well in a program conducted entirely in English? Because, I mean, let's be real. A lot of us actually want to study in the US, but a lot of us didn't actually really pay attention to this English proficiency. We just think that, okay, yeah, I'm going to take TOEFL or IELTS eventually. But I want to give you a heads up that is really important, right? Which I'm going to show you, I think, in my next slide. So let's ask this first question first. Can you do well in a program conducted entirely in English? Do you feel comfortable in that setting, okay? Graduate programs require a substantial amount of reading, writing, and speaking, okay? That's also very important. Oops. Here's the important thing. Also, it's not on my next slide, but this is on this slide. You want to get at least 90 all the way to 100, or even if you can get more, then that would be even great. On TOEFL, IBT, or 7 on IELTS. I want to kind of like stay here a little bit longer, because be mindful that the general, the common, or what do you call, the regular TOEFL score is 79. And I'm not putting 79 in here. I'm saying here, get at least 90. So it's actually really, the gap is actually really far from 79 to 90. The reason is because turns out, if you want to study master's degree in the US, and I actually just realized this not too long ago, that countries outside the US, even like Europe, even for countries in Europe where they use English as a first language, which we kind of like obviously know which country it is, they actually require 79 and you're pretty much good to go. This is like for a master's degree level. I didn't know that. I just recently know about it, because for me, I thought it's quite like obvious that if you want to do master's degree, you do not want to do 79 on your TOEFL. It's actually supposed to be high. So now, just now, hopefully, hopefully this is something new also, that if you want to study in the US, is very rare. I'm not saying that all campuses are requiring this high, but it's very rare in the US universities where they ask 79 for master's degree or PhD level, okay? Minimum, they ask for 90. Even if you want to do LLM, is there anyone here who wants to do LLM? Please raise your hand or just kind of like say in chat. I just kind of like, curious. Specifically on LLM, your TOEFL may want to get to 110. And remember, the full score is 120. So yeah, it's that high. This is why I created this particular slide. So hopefully, for those of you who didn't know about this, now you know, okay? Aim for at least 7 on IELTS. There are a lot of universities where they're going to ask you for 7.5. That is actually really high, okay? So that's that. I would like to just kind of like put that away, right? That's why I put it in the beginning. So I would say that because it's very, very important, if we are unable to get to that score, it is going to be very tough to move forward with the application process. That's because I like to call it, when we go to the application process, which is in EducationUSA, it's going to be under step 3, which is completing your application. I like to call it, we are entering the English territory. So where everything is going to be in English, to the point where we can do an advising in English if you want to, right? Everything's going to be in English, your essay, your resume, everything, right? When you need to take the test, the standardized test like GRE or GMAT, everything is going to be in English. So now the next thing that is really, really important is, some of us probably kind of, I'm not going to worry about funding. I'm going to worry about funding later on. I just want to, just going to apply first. And then I'm pretty sure there will be like money somewhere come to me or whatever. I don't know how to say to this kind of like people. Yes, I mean, probably, but I'm the kind of person that is kind of like just like to stay being realistic. And it's just that in the past, I actually see a lot of my advisees that didn't go to the US eventually because they focused so much on getting accepted to the universities, and then they actually failed on the funding where they, apply for scholarship or scholarship basically, right? Or those kind of like financial aids. So I'm the type of person where, for me, I would feel it kind of like gives me like peace of mind when I know that I have secured the funding first. Okay. However, now with, for example, we have my favorite type of LPDP, that is LPDP PTUD, LPDP Perguruan Tinggi Utama Dunia, because it's very biased. I don't know why the whole LPDP team decide on having 12 US universities out of 15 on their list, but I'm very happy, of course, because I'm with EducationUSA, right? Except for LPDP PTUD. LPDP PTUD, it means that they want you to have the LOA first, or the letters of acceptance first. But if you're not planning on applying or using the route of LPDP PTUD, I would actually prefer to work on the funding first. Okay, because actually securing the funding, because pretty much like everyone in Indonesia probably like wants to apply to scholarship, it makes securing the funding is actually really, you will definitely have like a really low chance of getting in, right? Compare to thousands and thousands of universities options in the US, right? That's pretty much like the way I look at it. Let me know if you agree with me or you disagree, just kind of like want to hear what your thought on that. But this is like what I have, at least in terms of like funding. But let's take a look at some of the funding options for master's degree. So you can also like start with do you want to go with the government funded or Fulbright scholarship? So of course we have Fulbright from the US government, and we have LPDP from the Indonesian government. All right, how about Fulbright scholarships from the university? Well, actually, it's not common in the US for giving such scholarship, especially in the level of master's degree and PhD. But is there any? The answer is definitely yes. But again, it's not common. This one is interesting. So for those of you, especially who want to do hardcore science, especially heavy on research and science, I have good news for you. Your chance of actually not applying for Fulbright, not applying for LPDP, because we know that those scholarships are very popular, your chance of getting accepted, your chance for getting funded by the university through graduate research or teaching assistant position is actually really high. It's specifically, at least the way I look at it, is specifically on those programs that are heavily on science, and the one that is not actually a lot of people in one academic year, not a lot of students in one academic year. So programs like MBA or public policy, it's not common for them to actually kind of like put it on their website and put it publicly about this position. I'm pretty sure they do, but it's something that probably that you want to kind of like apply when you are already a student there. But if you are, again, like if you want to do science and, heavy on research and all that, your chance of getting in would be high. If you want to know more about this, let us know in the chat, because Santika can help you, give you the link of 2 events that we had the beginning of this year when we invited Tita Ristanto, an alumni of Stanford, and one of my good advisees, Meliana Ulfa, soon to be alumni, or maybe I think she's already an alumni. She graduated this year, I believe, of UT Austin, where both of them got fully funded through this scheme, graduate research or teaching assistant position. So technically it's kind of, you work as a graduate research assistant or GRA or teaching assistant position. In return, they are going to waive your tuition to 0, right? And at the same time, they may give you, they will pay you, but they don't call it like a salary, but they call it I lost the word, but something like, maybe Santika knows the word, and then she can help me for maybe say it in the chat. But yeah, they don't really call it pay, but but they're going to, it's enough. You're going to receive some money where it's enough for you to pay for your daily expenses. Okay. How about loans? I know that some people, and there's this one institution or one organization that I don't even remember what it's called, but it's kind of like popular among Indonesians, where basically it gives out loans for international students. I'm not a big fan of loans. I mean, it's a US thing. I know that, the majority of Americans, they are able to, most of them actually, put themselves on loans, federal loans. I'm not a big fan of that actually. So I would just, I mean, but it's there, the option is there. But yeah, I would say that this would be the very last option that I would do. But if I can, I will stay away from loans. Okay. How about funding options for PhD? Please let me know if there are any PhD prospective students here in Zoom or wherever you guys are watching this. I want to know, because moving forward, I would love to basically have more sessions on PhD, because funding options for PhD is much more interesting. So remember when I said to you earlier about the GRA and teaching assistant? Of course, just to remember. I mean, I just said that like a couple of minutes ago. But so that, you know how I said that it's specifically on, like science and heavy research type of programs that allows you to do that. With PhD, think of that scheme, but for all of the programs, all of PhD programs that you guys want to do. So, however, yeah, there are the government funded Florida scholarships such as Fulbright and LPDP that there's definitely can also be your options. However, again, like if you are not planning to, get the hassle of applying to this scholarship, you can actually just go ahead and apply for the assistantship, right? Pretty similar to what I said in the master's degree, where you are going to be a GRA, graduate research assistantship or teaching assistantship. In return, they're going to waive your tuition, and at the same time, they're going to, I found the word, they're going to give you allowance. So they don't really like to call it salary, but it's kind of like a salary because you work for the campus. And then especially for PhD, I mean, you work for the campus, but then at the same time, it's both mutual for you and for the university. For you, you get what you need basically based on the research, and then it's going to be beneficial for the university as well. Okay, full grant by receiving a tuition waiver, research teaching assistantship, and stipend allowance or stipend. So it's pretty much the thing where they give you sums of money, okay, in return of you working for them as a research or teaching assistantship. Okay. So I would actually love to have more Indonesians interested in doing PhD, especially because of this funding scheme that is actually really interesting. You don't have to, worry about like the hassle of applying for Fulbright or LPDP. But of course, if you want to, the option is there. But then if you just kind of like want to go straight to the universities, your chance of being in this kind of like scheme will be actually really high, especially, PhD. Okay. So that's kind of like, the funding. So first we agree, right? Like we basically need to put aside the fact that we need to have like a really high score on English. And then the second most important thing would be how am I going to fund my study? Just to kind of like put it in peace of mind. Also to avoid being in a situation like what my advisees had been the last couple of years, where they got accepted to this amazing universities, but then they didn't get accepted. They didn't get accepted for whatever reason, even though they've tried applying for this full ride scholarships. So at the end, they didn't go. And applying to US university is actually really complicated. But again, it's so worth it. It is a lot to, it's some consuming, but then again, like that's what we are here for. That's what Santika and I are here for, to guide you on that. Okay. It's going to be worth it. So I want you to kind of like I just want to make sure that you guys are leaving to the US when you get accepted, not having to worry about funding after you get the LOA. Okay. Except again, like the LPDP that I said earlier. And then after that, you will definitely want, this is again very obvious. There's the, another thing that I want to kind of like you to like more decide on the right program. It's very obvious, but this point major A or major B, first one, or are you in a position where no, I'm not deciding between major or major B. I know I want to study this. First question. Second question is, Are you sure what you want to pursue a master's degree for in the US? Ask yourself this. You don't have, just kind of like put it in your head. Yeah, I'm sure I want to pursue a master's degree in the US. To what extent, to what purpose? Do you have the purpose on why you are selecting, or why are you choosing that particular program for? Do you have the answer to that? That's what I'm trying to say, basically. If you say, I'm not sure yet, I know that I want to study in the US, but I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure yet on why I want to pursue a master's degree for. It's okay, right? Question number 3. Are you sure what you want to do or try to achieve for the next 3 to 5 years? So ask these questions, right? If you say the first one, yeah, kind of, I'm still kind of deciding between MBA or data science. Yeah, I'm still deciding between MBA and electrical engineering. And then the second one, not actually really sure why I want to pursue a master's degree for. It's just that I think all of my colleagues, pretty much all of them, are continuing their master's degree abroad. And to be completely honest with you, I don't really know what I want to achieve for the next 3 to 5 years when I'm going back to Indonesia. If you have those answers, I'm really sorry, but it is likely that you are not ready to apply yet. So if you answer the opposite, let's do this. Let's do the application like right now. Why am I saying all this? It's just because, again, applying to US universities are challenging. It's time consuming, to the point where you definitely feel like you want to give up, right? So I just want to make sure in advance that you are so sure that US is for you, so that you will actually feel all of the hard works when we are done with the application process. It can take from 6 months to a year, or maybe even like more, okay? That being said, this is kind of like answering from the title of tonight's event, when to prepare. So what to prepare and when to prepare. When to prepare sounds obvious, but start early. But how early? Not 1 year early, but 2 years prior to the beginning of study. What do I mean by that? First of all, the university deadlines in the US, it ranges 5 to 11 months before the program starts. The program starts and the beginning of study are basically the same thing. I'm just using different terms. So you want to give at least a year before the deadline. It's a total of 2, I don't know if this makes sense, but so you want to give at least a year before the deadline, right? And then of course, because the deadline takes 5 to 11 months, we will have another pretty much like almost a year before the program starts. That's why I said 2 years prior to the beginning of studies. So if the deadline is, let's say, this coming December, for a program that will start in fall or September of next year, you basically should start, or should have started, as early as this past January. So I don't know, maybe some of you are watching this for the first time, and yeah, you guys want to apply for fall 2022, and then this is your first time coming to Education USA, and this is also at the same time your first time you're about to start your application process. Is it late? I hate to break it up to you guys, but it is very late, unless your deadline for fall 2022 is not until March of next year. So there are some campuses, there are some programs where the deadline is not until next year, but there are also a lot of programs where their deadline is as early as this month. Like seriously, and the program is not even started until next year. So especially if you're interested in applying MBA round 1, with MBA we got round 1, round 2, round 3. Round 1's deadline is this month. So there are a lot of people kind of like just realize this and then just like, oh my god, okay, there's no way that I can apply for round 1. And then now you have, your option would be round 2 or round 3. Okay, a lot of university will have their deadline this October, November, December, well, basically all month from here on. There are a lot of universities that align with in January, February, March. So things are getting real, guys. And I'm actually quite scared looking at the participant. I'm so happy that there are actually a lot of you watching the sessions. And I'm actually want to see you guys use our service. There are actually more EducationUSA centers across Indonesia though, but just in case you kind of like, I want to see Fina or I want to see Santika. And I love meeting a number of new advisees. In fact, the past couple of weeks, I have met a lot of new advisees. However, from here on until December, it's going to be brutal for Santika and I, because we're going to receive like pretty much like nonstop of advisees coming in, and there are only the two of us. But you know, I just wish that you guys actually, you know, have prepared since, you know, this the you know, the beginning of this year, or even like, you know, April, May, June, July was actually our very quiet months. But we didn't actually see a lot of students coming in. Because why? I know why. Because we love being procrastinate, right? And I admit I also love being procrastinating myself. But if this is your first time hearing this, I know it's late. I know that I said it's late, and it is late, but let's just do it. Okay. I hope it's enough to kind of like give you kind of like get the adrenaline on from this event tonight, so that it's enough to put into action to actually, all right, I'm gonna like start compiling all the application. Okay. So another thing, right? So now you know when to prepare. And another thing for a master's degree, I would usually recommend you to decide about 4 to 6 schools, but then of course you don't have to apply this many. I know that especially if you're applying for LPDP, for example, I know that they, you know, especially with the LPDP regular, they only allow you to pick only 3 campuses. And then I know that not a lot of you guys are going to choose 3 campuses all to the US, but you guys are going to have, you know, some universities from, you know, outside the US as well. However, if you decide to actually just focus on the US so that you pick all 3 campuses to the US, I am so going to really, really appreciate that, because it's going to make things a lot easier, especially on your end. Because like I said, I'm not like, because compiling all these applications is already time consuming, is challenging. It's unfortunate to only use all that hard work that you've done with the GRE or GMAT, for example, or even like with your essays and your TOEFL, for example. You work so hard to get to 90 or even like 95 or 100, but you only actually use that to only 1 campus. You see what I'm saying here? So I'm actually, you know, it's actually so much better if you can actually have more US campuses when you are planning to apply for US universities, okay? But yeah, I wouldn't really, you know, going to discuss this, but, you know, normally 1 or 2 dream schools, 1 to 2 target schools, 1 to 2 safety schools. This is not applicable if you want to do LPDP PTUD, obviously. If you want to do LPDP PTUD, basically, if you want to apply to 4 to 6 schools in the US, those are going to be all dream schools. But this is what I love about being an EducationUSA advisor, because actually there are a lot of Santika and my advices in the past where I know that this campus sounds like really hard to get into, and they are. It's a highly selective university. But we see a lot of our advisors get accepted to these schools. It just proves my point that you guys can actually accept it to this amazing schools in the US. So usually I would push my advisees to apply to a lot of dream schools, or I call it the highly selective schools or universities, okay? So that's basically for master's degree. How about for PhD? How many universities that I need to apply? Do I need to, you know, look for dream schools, target schools, safety schools? Not quite so. For PhD, it's a little bit different and unique, because this is not for all PhD programs, because there are some PhD programs where, in fact, they are not allowed, or maybe they just don't recommend you to contact any faculty. So they want you to kind of like do the normal application process like master's degree, you know, submitting all the applications and all that, and then you get accepted. But there are actually also a lot of PhD programs in the US where you may want to contact a number of professors or faculty members from different universities, and then you make the connection with them, the introduction with them. If you guys met in the middle where they are interested in your research proposal, and then at the same time you're also interested in the research that they are currently working on, then you apply to the campus. Once you get that mutual agreement with the professors, getting into the campus will be very, very easy, because for PhD, it's very personal, it's very case by case. So this is why doing a PhD in the US is actually really, really interesting, let alone that funding options that I told you about in the beginning, right? So yeah, contact a number of professors or faculty members you would hope to work with and share your research proposal. You guys have to meet in the middle, okay? And then after that, this is also for master's degree, not just for PhD. Once you're pretty much like, figured out the funding, you figured out, the universities and everything. Maybe not figure out the universities, but you already know this is the kind of program that I want to do. This is what I'm going to do when I'm going back to Indonesia and so on. And then it's time to do the research to pick some of the campuses, right? And then ask yourself how each program is best for you. Okay, and this is very important. I want you to be very selfish in a good way, because a lot of us, okay, let's see what do I have here. Okay, no, because a lot of us tried so hard in trying to fit in to the campus we want in the US. And if you're in this position right now, that's okay. That's very normal. I'm telling you guys right now, it's your ego talking. It's your ego put you in that situation. Now, I want you to be selfish, like in a good way, where instead of putting yourself how to fit in to University A or University B, because these are really cool universities, right? I want to flash the degree from that universities. Instead of like thinking that, do it the other way around. How that university will be beneficial for you. This is time for you to be selfish. Ask yourself, can this university actually let me do whatever it is that I want to do when I'm done and when I'm ready to implement that when I'm back to Indonesia, right? And this would be the part for you. This is not going to be the part for me. So that's why it's very hard for Santika and I when there are people. And in fact, I have this one new advices the other day. Basically, have this list of questions, and one of them was asking me, so I want to study this. Can you please tell me which universities that is good for me? I can easily find that information through Google. But then I didn't give it to her, and I'm not going to give it to anyone either. The reason is because listing the university that actually good for that particular program that you want to do is easy, but don't stop there. So let's say you want to study, I don't know, aerospace engineering, right? When you are trying to find the university, you are not trying to look for what is the best universities in the US. That's like very vague. That's like very general. It's too general. But what you want to do is what are the universities in the US that have a really good aerospace engineering programs? Do that on Google, very easy. I'm pretty sure like within seconds, you're going to get the list. And then from that list, don't stop by just, oh, okay, so I'm going to apply to universities that is number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the list. And that's it. Don't do that, because it doesn't guarantee that the universities that listed as the best aerospace engineering in the US is for you. Maybe the university that is for you is actually on the list is probably number 15 or maybe number 16 or 17, right? So don't stop on and don't kind of like just rely on just because it's ranked number 17 is actually not good for you, right? Again, be selfish. So don't just rely on just the name of the universities, but really ask yourself if this program has anything that I'm looking for. All right, I really hope that makes sense. So yeah, this is just to kind of like save our time when you decide to do an advising session with me and Santika for the first time, so that you don't ask this question just because I'm going to just say, do your own research, right? Because of this particular slide that I'm showing you right now and what I just said to you, okay? Now, I like to give this presentation with kind of like slipping in some common question, kind of like random things, but this is like the one common question that a lot of people concern or even ask about, right? So it's actually not it's not even a question. It's just like my advice is a lot, or maybe a lot of you guys also, not even considered applying to highly selective universities because you have this GPA for your bachelor's degree. Who agrees with me on this? Are you guys some of them, right? Like maybe you have like 3.1, 3.2 GPA, and then you're not thinking about getting into this highly selective universities because of that. If you're thinking that, I want you to kind of like delete that from your mind, right? Because the answer is, can I get into grad schools despite a low GPA? I would say, if you ask me that, like during an advising session, I would definitely ask, of course. But let's see here. When you do an advising with Santika and I, you are never, ever going to hear from one of us asking you, what is your GPA? It's sometimes the information that you like to reveal to me directly, not even like me asking. The reasons why I didn't ask that question is because what's the point of me asking you that question? You know, if you had a GPA of 3.0 through 3.4, which a lot of people consider like low GPA, and I don't actually really see that as being low GPA. A lot of people think that, okay, yeah, that means I can't, you know, get accepted to, you know, this highly selective universities. But then like, what's the point of me asking that if you already come see me and if you already know that you want to study in the US? Because once you even like you watching the session right now, even if you have like 3.0 to 3.4 GPA, just the fact that you're watching the session, it means like you want to study in the US, right? Can we agree on that, right? And then the fact that maybe after this, you're deciding to see me at Santika, why are we like dwelling on this GPA situation? Right? Let's just focus on other requirements you have control over now. And I'm going to give you the one word that is going to be your friend from here on if you decide to apply to US universities, which of course you guys are, right? Many universities evaluate applicants holistically. So the keyword here that I'm just saying is holistic, right? What does that mean? It means that, of course, like on my first slide, right? We got like that 6 list of requirements. College transcript is in there, right? I think it's something. Yes, they are going to definitely take a look at your GPA, but holistic means they are going to review the other documents that they require. Okay, so they're not going to stop by looking at your GPA of and then go into this. This is not European countries. This is the US, because I think that's like what some of the European countries are doing. They're really focusing so much on your academic performance, your academic achievements, to the point if you don't get a certain GPA, to the point where they even put on their website, in order for you to apply to this program, you need to have a minimum of GPA of blah, blah, blah. You won't find that from US universities. I'm not saying that 100% of US universities don't ask that, but I mean, as far as I know, I have never seen any programs in the US where they actually put the minimum of GPA. So let's put that aside, guys. If you have 3.0, 3.1, 3.2, 3.4, please, I still want you to consider applying highly selective programs, because they are going to take a look at the other documents. And we want to balance everything out. So if you have an okay GPA, then let's do really strong on your resume if you have that strong profile already with you. Or let's do really well on the essays, right? So yeah, exactly what I just said. Write an excellent essay, have strong resumes or CV, get strong letters of recommendation, and your GMAT scores to balance everything out. And then in a second, they will forget about your GPA of whatever, which we call like low GPA. They're going to forget that. Okay. Now let's take a look at letters of recommendation. So we are going to basically, discuss each and every document. Well, not all, but very brief. Letters of recommendation is also very important. It's one of the requirements. How many? Normally 2 to 3 letters, but be mindful that you will definitely want to check for individual programs, because I'm going to explain to you, I think in a second, about how the US education system is very decentralized, especially for master's and PhD program. Decentralized means that each individual programs, they may have their own regulation compared to the other programs, although still under the same universities. That's what decentralized means. So maybe you're applying for public policy, but University A asks for 1 letter, University B asks for 3 letters. So there is no definite answer to how many, so you have to go and check on individual programs. Okay. I'm going to go real quick here because we have a separate event on this, and I think, I don't know, the chat button is kind of like keep showing up here on my screen, and then it seems like Santika and you guys have a lot of good time while I'm talking in front of my presentation slide. So I want to kind of like have a longer Q&A session later on. Okay, so you need to make sure that each recommender will say something different. So if the universities ask you to submit 2 or 3, each recommender will have to say something different. Make sure you give your recommenders plenty of lead time, please. I know that we all love being procrastinate, but at least for this particular document, because this is you asking for a favor of someone else vouching for you, so this is actually a huge deal. So you will want to give them plenty of lead time. I'm going to skip this for now, but this is just an example of my past events. We are not planning to have this next month, or maybe we will, but yeah, because we don't have the e-poster yet ready. But I just want to tell you that we cover this session as well: letters of recommendation, CV and resume. So please stay tuned on that. But this is what we had last June. We had this specific topic of letters of recommendation. So let's move on to another thing, would be our favorite standardized tasks, or maybe not. All of us hate this task, right? Let's admit this together once and for all. We hate this, right? Preparing for a GRE or GMAT test. If you are, again, if you're an LLM student, consider yourself lucky because you don't have to take this test. But otherwise, other programs will ask you to submit this one of these tests. Okay, there are a lot of questions around this standardized test. Like, how long should I prepare before the test? How do I prepare? Can I just do it by the book, or should I be joining any prep course, online prep course, in-person prep course? Like, what would be the best for me? And then, of course, the $1 million question: what is a good what is the good GRE or GMAT score? I can't seem to find it on the website. What's up with that? Like, we need to know the scores, because we live in a culture where everything is about the numbers. That's why with the GPA, it's also like that, right? Like, you guys are so focused on the number of that GPA, whereas in the US, they're just like very chill about it, guys. Like, they don't even like mention the minimum of GPA. They didn't even like rarely mention about the minimum of GRE or GMAT score. But let me help you get on that. Okay, how long should I prepare before the test? I mean, it really depends. Usually I like to ask you the one question that I hope everyone will answer pretty much all the same. So I'm going to ask you usually during the one-on-one advising session, but then now that you are already here, you can actually already ask yourself as well, how good are you with your math? Are you comfortable with your math? And I just need to hear the one answer, which is, yeah, I'm okay, I'm good, or even like, I'm good, or yeah, I'm very confident with my math. That's all. If you can say that, yeah, I'm good with math, we are pretty much kind of like good to go with the GRE or GMAT. The reason is because, well, not quite, but it helps because with the GRE or GMAT, they have the verbal component, which is kind of like the English, and then the quant component, which is the math. All of us pretty much, because I've been seeing this scores for the past 6 years, all of us are pretty much doing not well. We're not doing well on the verbal, both for the GRE or GMAT, but some of you guys are able to have a really high GREs or GMAT, or not, maybe not really, but somewhat high or enough GRE or GMAT scores thanks to the math, right? Thanks to you being able to actually do really good in the math, okay? So how long should I prepare? It really depends on where are you in your math. With the verbal, obviously, I still definitely want you to kind of, learn on the verbal section, but 6 years I've been here, it's actually not really going like, it's just okay, kind of like on the low score for the verbal, which is okay. I mean, that's okay. I mean, if you can actually do really good in the verbal, that's like a different story, which is like, it's good. But then I've seen it over and over and over again that we find it really challenging in the verbal section. Okay. How do I prepare? By the book, join a prep course? That's the type of questions that I don't have the answer to, because this is definitely the question for you. You ask yourself this, like, how would you, do you prefer to just learn by the book because you're super busy or what have you? Or are you the type of learner where you need like a real person or someone like guiding you? So ask yourself that, because both works for my past advisees. What is a good GRE or GMAT? So I think I have this on my next slide. I think in my next slide, but let's take a look. I'm gonna get that to the score because I know you guys want to know the answer to that. But again, guys, remember the word holistic. From here on is going to be holistic. This includes the GRE and GMAT as well, right? Some graduate schools may not specify any minimum or average GRE or GMAT score. This means you will have to set your target scores based on your own research or interaction. So yeah, there is some kind of like just so that you know where to go with your GRE or GMAT, we definitely want to kind of like search this. Usually on their website, they have like what they call the student profile, or they call it something else. Basically, they pull out the data of the average of GRE scores or GMAT scores of applicants that got accepted from previous years, and they like to put it in the website just to kind of like, just so that you know. Okay, if they don't put that on their website, you can definitely email them. Okay, but if you can, this is kind of like I don't know what to call it, kind of like what I think would be safe for us looking at my past advisees. If you can, aim for 165 out of 170, only 5 points less than the full score on the GRE quant. Hold on. I know some of you probably like, what? 165 or the GRE quant? I can't do that. And then maybe you guys who are planning to apply for public policy or something kind of like shocked with this number. I'm saying 165 would be great, especially if you are planning to do like engineering or science. But I know that for engineering or science, having 165 is actually kind of like low. So you want to actually get to 168 or even full score on the GRE quant. And trust me, I had advisees that actually have a good score for the GRE quant. And isn't that amazing? It is amazing. But if you're like in a public policy or like in a social science type of programs where the universities are still asking you for a GRE, you can kind of like do 160-ish. But if you can, I know this is, the keyword here, if you can, aim for 165. On the GRE verbal, 155 out of 170. 6 years, again, me being EducationUSA, I can tell you, I would say probably only 2 people that actually get 155. Can you believe it? Like, I'm talking about like hundreds, probably already thousands by these times of students that I interact with in the application process. I would say only 2, because it's like very surprising that they get to 155. But again, let's aim high. Why don't we? Right? That's why I put 155. In average, I know some of my advice, because again, like we are really struggling in the GRE verbal. So some of us probably would get like 140-ish, which is kind of like actually quite low. But if you can get to 150, that's amazing. Okay. And then 4, I know 4 is kind of like also high for the GRE essay. Some of us kind of got 3 on the essay, but again, if you can get 4, that would be great. For the GMAT, if you can, aim 650. 650 out of, it seems kind of like low, but I'm telling you guys, the average is actually 590 to 610 for Indonesians, at least those who came to me. 610, even 610 for me is already like, whoa, that's high. But again, let's aim high. If you can get to 650, that's amazing. Okay. All right, let's move on. So I'm gonna go real quick here because I don't know, I kind of forgot how many slides I have left, but we're gonna go real quick here. Remember when I said earlier that US universities, especially for master's and PhD, are decentralized? This is what I mean by that. Look at, so I'm using an example of Harvard, University of Harvard, where each programs actually have their own kind of like regulation on what they expect the applicants to have on their GRE score. So Graduate School of Engineering, and this one back in the days, but pretty much the same from year to year. Look at how high the GRE quant is, 1995 percentile. Very high on the verbal scores as well, where for Indonesian, we probably just kind of like stay in the 60, 70. But if you can actually get to like really like perfect, even like perfect score for the GRE quant, they may kind of like being more understandable, kind of, oh yeah, okay, this person is, you know, international student, so we're going to go easy on the verbal scores for this applicant, okay? And then look at the Graduate School of Design, where the GRE quant score is actually quite low. It's 157, and the verbal, it's kind of like equal between the GRE quant or verbal. The way I look at it, probably they're just kind of like not really kind of like care about like the GRE score here, maybe just kind of like on a, just like an okay score, right? And then look at how the Graduate School of Education requires. Very low on the quant scores, and that makes sense. I mean, in the Graduate School of Education, you don't need like heavy math, but then of course they're expecting you to have like a really high verbal scores because it requires a lot of speaking and all that, right? Verbal scores like the 81st percentile. So I'm going to give you an idea. So there's no like it's very hard to say like what would be the minimum score for my program, and then for another advisor, what would be the minimum score for me? It's different. It depends on what kind of programs that you guys want to do. Okay. So let's take a look at here. When a graduate school looks at your application, they are looking at a wide variety of factors, aka holistic, that tell them whether or not you may be a successful student in their program. So at least in the US, again, the way I look at it for countries outside the US, even maybe for Indonesia or like Asian countries in general, they kind of like rely on your academic achievements. Good GPA, it means equal to a successful student. Not the US, guys, not the US. It's very like, it's definitely not the US, because the keyword here is holistic, right? So at the end of the day, the GRE scores that you submit are merely one of these factors. This is not the only factors that, you know, if you don't get good GRE scores or GMAT score, they're going to just disqualify you right away. No. So what I'm trying to say here, that yes, you know, having to do GRE or GMAT, it's time consuming and all that. But what I'm trying to say is, at the end of the day, is just do your best. Okay. So this cut off scores, basically the scores that I showed you previously, it's they do not answer the question, what is a good GRE score? But at the same time, they will let you know the lowest possible scores that the program will accept. For example, through the student profile, like I mentioned earlier, okay? So some graduate programs have total cut of scores, some don't, and only interested in the verbal or just the quant. But most programs look at GRE scores as only one element, because again, holistic, right? One element of your application package, which includes other documents, letters of recommendation, your transcript, your statement of purpose, and your GPA on your college transcript. Okay, so don't stress too much about, oh my god, I don't think I'm gonna get like good scores because like, oh my god, like I haven't, I already graduated like a long time ago. I don't think I still remember like my math or whatever. Just keep practicing and do your best. That's all I'm trying to say in this section. Okay. But wait, like seriously, wait. Oh, this is a good slide actually. I almost forgot because I don't remember the last time. It was kind of like a while ago. But wait, having an excellent GRE or maybe some of you are thinking, I'm good at with GRE or GMAT. I'm so strong on my English and my math as well. I think I'm gonna get like good scores. Hold on. Having an excellent GRE or GMAT score is no guarantee as well that you will be admitted to a particular program. Why I'm having this because now I just remember that in fact I actually do have an advisee, some of advisees that actually have like a really GRE, at least in the quant, and not so bad on the GRE verbal as well. It didn't get accepted. So we don't want to kind of like just, oh, GRE or GMAT is so important that we have, in order for us to get accepted, we have to get good scores on this standardized test. No, okay? It's not the case. Again, the keyword here is holistic. Another common question, which is, I love this. So should I be doing GRE or GMAT first, or TOEFL or IELTS first? Which one should I do before I move on to my other application process? My answer would be, technically, if you can achieve a good GRE or GMAT score, so if you kind of like already know before you take the test, so maybe you kind of like practice it through online, through books, and then you kind of like feel confident, like, oh yeah, I remember all this stuff back in college or something. I know how to do this, pretty much like to do the math. Yeah, probably I will struggle a little bit on the verbal, but I think with more practice, I will be able to do okay. If you can say that now, if you can, and then at the end, you can achieve a good GRE or GMAT score automatically, you should have no problem reaching the minimum scores of TOEFL or IELTS, right? But I would also like to ask the other way around. So that's why on my first slide, I start with English proficiency is very important, because if we can't even get to 90 on our TOEFL or 7 on our IELTS, how on earth we are going to be able to do this GRE or GMAT, especially on the verbal, right? So you can do the other way around. You can actually ask yourself first with the, if you can do GRE or GMAT with good scores, and then automatically you're going to be able, you can do that first and then take the TOEFL or IELTS later on. That should be easy for you. The other way around also works. So ask yourself first, am I comfortable in, or can I get to 90 or even like 100 on my TOEFL or IELTS? If the answer is yes, you can definitely do GRE or GMAT, especially on the quant, because everything is going to be in English, right? The math question will be in English. We need to understand that, right? So yeah, so that would be the common question. Writing essays. So I love this topic, but I know that this is not the only topic that we have tonight. So I'm gonna skip some slides because we are going to have this session, I think 2 weeks from now, same day, same time. Writing essays is very, very important. Each school is definitely going to require a statement of purpose. You will want to check if any of the prompts or the questions from each school overlap, because, or maybe pretty much the same, because most likely they will. And that being said, it means that we can actually create, so even if you want to apply to 4 or 6 campuses, it doesn't mean that you have to write like 4 to 6 different essays. You can actually write one great essays, and then we, use that for multiple campuses. Okay. Are they the same? Personal essay, personal statement, statement of purpose, motivation statement. There's so many terms, but basically, what is very common when it comes to master's degree, master's degree or PhD in the US, they like to call it statement of purpose, but they can also call it personal statement. Motivation letter, however, if you ever use that word during while you're doing the advising with me, it means that I already know without you telling me that you're applying to European countries, because motivation letter is a term used in Europe. It's not being used in the US, but it's pretty much the same. But in terms of the content, it's totally 100% different. That's why we have this separate event on that. So guess what, guys? Just to kind of like save the time, I'm going to skip some of this. I'm sorry, just so that you can attend the session where I will basically going in like in depth about essay writing. Okay. That is another story and shall be told another time. Exactly that. Okay. And again, I'm just kind of like put it here, September 16th. So if you want to kind of like know more about statement of purpose, because just a heads up, this would be probably, it would be one of, if not the most demanding services that a lot of people required of Santika and I. And if I think about it, that would be apart from resume or CV. We can definitely review your resume or CV, but then that's kind of like very straightforward. It won't take like a lot of time. But with statement of purpose, this would be probably the only document of all your application requirements where I can assist you with, right? I mean, with your GMAT, I can't help you. That's something that you need to learn on your own. Resume or CV basically is just kind of like we help you on the structure, but in terms of the content, well, that's like your life, right? Letters of recommendation, obviously, I don't have anything to do with that, nor should you, because that would be something that is being written by the recommenders. But essay is definitely something that I can help you with. That's why, and I happen to love reading essays, and writing an essay is actually really, really important and challenging, and it's difficult for some people, but then that's what we are here for. Okay. Another common question: do I need to contact any professors before I apply? Yes and no. This is what I mean, and then this is going back, like I've been using this term before, how US grad schools or departments are very decentralized. So what do I mean by that? It means that, well, that's why I put the answer yes and no. It's because for you can technically, you can contact the professor. For most of the master's degree program, you don't have to, but it's highly recommended to contact them and make a connection with the professors. Not because you have to, but also at the same time because you want to and you need to. The reason is so that once you do that, you can actually mention about them on your essay, right? But this is not common for programs like MBA, for example, but then you can still do that, just because like MBA, it tends to have a lot of like students in one academic year. So to the point where most likely the professors or the academic the faculty members won't pretty much like have the time to answer your email. But for programs that are kind of like smaller, there will be chance for them to get back to you. You can also make a connection with the admissions committee, not necessarily just the faculty members. The whole idea is to make them know you even before you submit your application. And why do we want to do that? What are the benefits of making yourself known to the committee? There are some. So one of them is, some grad schools would like to know their candidates on a personal level. I think this is something that I found really interesting when it comes to US education system. They really do want to know you on a personal level. That's why writing an essay is actually really important, because that's when you can get, not necessarily personal, but like tell you Tell them your plan, like your purpose. That's why they call it statement of purpose. It's about you making a statement of your purpose of continuing your study in their campus, right? They may also make an exemption, for example, by waiving your application fee for you. And hey, it's not that bad. I mean, especially if you're applying to a number of universities in the US, and we all know that the application fees can be quite high. And yes, when you actually make yourself known, especially to the admissions committee, I have some advices in the past where they did actually try asking them, just like via email, like very non-formal, like, hey, thank you so much for, keep answering my questions. I'm ready to apply and just wondering if, you can actually give me, like a waive, like an application fee waiver. And a lot of times they would actually do that. It's just because not a lot of people know about this. And then so when you email them, probably you might be the only one who's asking that questions. And then for them, because everything is kind of like, not everything, but most likely it's kind of like they see it, applicants kind of like on a personal level, they will be like, yeah, I'm just gonna give it to this one applicant, the application fee waiver. Hey, that's not bad, right? And the other one that is actually really good is they actually may consider you for a graduate research or teaching assistantship that we probably all want, right? Of course, if you ask. Okay, and so I see a lot of, actually a number of Indonesians get this position because they have built a connection and by introduce themselves in the beginning of the application process. So it's not like, you just kind of like, you never contact them and then all of a sudden you're kind of like, hey, please give me like this position. They'll be probably like, wait, who are you again? But if you make yourself known, and then they'll be like, oh yeah, you're that person who, keep asking us really amazing questions. They may actually give you that, consider that, okay? I think we're kind of like near to the end here, and I think we have definitely plenty of time for the Q&A, but things to know, the individual Department of Graduate Study decides your admission. So this is actually really important. This is kind of like relatable to the essay as well, because on my essay event, one of the questions that we definitely want to know is who's going to read your essays. We have to know that. And it's going to be that specific department of graduate study. So if you're for School of Business, people in the School of Business who are basically the expert of business or business-related programs are going to read your essays, right? And likewise with School of Law and School of Engineering and what have you. For a master's degree, if your program is research heavy, it is highly recommended to contact and make a connection with the faculty members or admissions committee. This is definitely like what a PhD candidate would do, right? Not all PhD programs, but the majority of PhD programs, you want to make that kind of connection with the faculty members first. And for some master's degree, especially when it's research heavy and it's science, you want to do the same, okay? But even if the program is not research heavy, it is still highly recommended to contact them, because why not? Because then we can put that in the essay and then it will actually look really good, that it shows to them that you're not applying to their program just because you've done a thorough research all the way until the faculty members, that all these professors or what they've done, the kind of research that they did in the past, or the courses that they are teaching, and you put that in the essay. And again, I don't want to kind of like overwhelm you with, oh wait, we put that in the essay. So I don't want to overwhelm you. That's why I skipped the part about essays tonight, and I prefer you to just kind of like join that specifically on essay session 2 weeks from now. Okay. For a PhD study, like I said just now, it is quite common that the first step to do is contacting the professors, and then where that professor is located, where that professor is teaching, that would be your university of choice. So it's not about, oh, I want that university, so I'm going to try my best to find the faculty members in that universities, and then turns out there is no faculty members in that universities that like your research proposal, and likewise you don't like what they're really doing. So we don't want that. So find, like I said earlier, find yourself in the kind of like meet with the faculty members in the middle, meaning that you you love what the research that they do, and then they also at the same time love your research proposal, and then apply to that university. Okay. But before contacting them, of course, you don't want to contact them just because I'm telling you that, but do research. You want to kind of like really appreciate them, as in like, you know, I'm contacting these professors because this professor is one of the reasons why I'm applying to this program, something like that, right? Contact the professors, show how you admire and are inspired by their work, right? So when you email them and introduce yourself, ask yourself, just make sure you send that email by giving them a reason to reply to your emails. You get what I'm saying here? Instead of like just say blah 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 blah, but then for them it would be like, okay, so what do you want me to do now? You're not asking me any questions. You're not like, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do now? So in that email, you have to kind of like find a reason, whatever that is, maybe like a question or something, for them to reply your email. Because remember, these are busy people, right? Sometimes the professor won't even get back to you. And don't take it personally. Some of us would take it personally to the point where they don't want to apply to that campus anymore just because the professor didn't reply back. Don't do that. I mean, don't take it personally, because again, they are busy people, right? But there are a lot of cases where a lot of my advice is contacting the professors and they actually get back to you. Yeah, but in some cases, the professor may get back to you showing their interest in your research and urging you to apply ASAP. It means that they really love you. If you can put yourself in that situation, woof, your chance of getting in, I'm telling you, is really, really high. So yeah. So guys, thanks so much for staying this long. But some of the key takeaways from this event tonight. We're almost done, and I can't wait to read all this chat, or maybe not all because it has like 99 plus here on in front of me. But start early, okay? Start early. Ideally, begin 2 years before the program starts. I'm giving you the kind of like the example, kind of like the timeline. So if the deadline is this coming December for a study that starts fall next year, technically you should have started the beginning of this year. But then again, if this is your first time hearing this, don't worry. I mean, or maybe worry a little bit, or maybe worry much. Why don't I just say that, so that you can kind of like put enough to put you into action. You should be worried, guys, if you have the deadline at the end of this year. Okay. English proficiency is very, very important, to the point where we can't, or we are going to be very struggle to move on if you guys cannot aim to get at least a 90 on TOEFL IBT or 7 on IELTS. And I'm giving you the reason why. If the school requires a GRE test, aim for a high score on the quant section. And we're talking about like 106. Okay, let me say 160. If you can get 160, marvelous. You have to get 165 if you're in the science program, by the way, or like engineering. If the school requires a GMAT, aim for 650, or 610 would be okay, but 650 would be amazing. 650 and above out of 800. And then, however, if you have tried your best on the GRE or GMAT test, but your scores are still below the cut-off score requirements, move on. This is pretty similar to the GPA situation, right? We don't have any control over anymore because you've done your best. It would be a different story if you didn't do your best, that you just kind of like, you know, didn't actually really practice that long, and then you just take the test. It would be a different story. But if you have tried your best, like literally your best, and then you still didn't meet the cutoff score requirements, move on. Let's focus on things that we have control over, aka essays, pretty much. Yeah, I would say essays. Build the strongest overall application possible. So we got, I give you some tips by contacting the professors, and of course, working on the admission essay early. Okay, so maybe if you have the deadline this December, and then you're just about to start with the application now, at least worry so much, like start worrying about the essay. But that's why maybe, at least from tonight until my session on essay 2 weeks from now should be enough for you to kind of like feel the, like have the high adrenaline to actually make you move and really compile everything that you can actually work on now. Wait until 2 weeks, attend the session so that you can kind of like get a better idea on what is this essays? Why does it sound really challenging or difficult? Because it is. That's why I'm having that session, and I want you to watch it. And yeah, at the end of the day, remember, all of this application will be holistic. But I'm telling you that essays has a really huge role to kind of like balance everything out. So if you have like an okay GRE, if you have okay. And of course, that's what Education USA at America advisors are here for you. That's what Santika and I are here for you. But like I said earlier, this is going to be brutal from here on in terms of the number of new advisees that we are going to have, because at the same time, we already have a number of advisees that have come to us since the beginning of this year because they listened to us to start early, that they are still in the application process now. But then at the same time, Santika and I are keep receiving, meeting new advices, which we love, but be mindful that there are only the two of us. So there will be times where it will be very hard to see me or Santika. But just kind of like want to put it out there that Education USA at America advisors are here for you. That's the end of my presentation. I'm going to stop share this and I'm going to check with Santika. How are we doing?
Hi, Fina. Thank you so much for the very, very detailed presentation. I think this session is very, very eye-opening for those who have interest to, just to like, oh, I'm interested to maybe get a master or a PhD in the States and see what kind of information and can I get. And when they come to here, they're like, this is so detailed, because everyone has been asking questions in Zoom. And I am just overwhelmed by the number of questions tonight because we have like at least 90 audience here in just Zoom alone. That is excluding our team, right? So yeah, we got, let's see, so many questions. And I have marked them in the green one in our Q&A sheets on those that I think that we can discuss more in depth, or that is maybe not that, not that detail inside of the presentation itself. But here you go. This is from Mayo in Zoom. I want to ask, if I have a master in Indonesia, can I get a master scholarship again? So the context here is because I haven't followed up with Mayo yet, but just in general, Fina, can someone with a master degree from Indonesia get another master degree in the States, and maybe on top of that, applying for the scholarship?
Yeah, it would be definitely depends. If you're trying to get a scholarship, which is, again, like I said in the beginning of my slides, that a scholarship from the university for master's degree or PhD level is not common. They like to call it like through teaching assistantship. Then yeah, they don't care how many master's degree that you had in the past. However, if you're trying to get into, government funded scholarship like Fulbright and or LPDP, I believe they would say no to that. I think it's somewhere like on their website that they say that, they don't allow you to have like a second master's.
All right, Fina, thank you so much for that. I hope that helps. Mayo, you just need to check on the requirements, and if you're aiming for like TA or RA, then you just need to check with their requirements. If everything's good, then you're good to go, right? Okay, so moving on to the next one. I already answered this, but I think it's very, very interesting. So I want you to have a perspective in this. This is from Amalia. Is the chance high to get accepted to TA or RA scheme when you are a non-US graduate? You are from Indonesian university graduate, and because I always assume they will prefer a US graduate or citizens for those positions. So I'm looking for a PhD. So what do you think, Fina?
Not true.
I said, yeah,
not true.
there's
Yeah,
always,
not true.
yeah, not
this
true.
this is what I love. I mean, I don't know about like other countries, but this is what I love about US universities. Basically the professors don't care where you are from. You know, you have no idea. You know what, guys? Like, just stay tuned to this EducationUSA. Hopefully, you know, in the future, we can invite a number of other, you know, alumni or advisees of us that basically get to do this, and they're Indonesians, obviously. That's when I said, you know, that last event, you know, in the beginning of the year, or maybe last year, I forgot, where we invited Tita, alumni of Stanford, and Mel, alumni of Boston. We actually have so more that Zaskia Putra, you know, Zaskia Putri, who did LLM, and then got like basically, well, not teaching assistantship, but you know, I mean, it's very, very common for Indonesians and international students in general to actually get this position. So don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I told Amalia that we have pretty much a lot of advisees who went for PhD actually got those opportunity for TA or RA, and they are all Indonesians, of course. Like, and they graduated from somewhere in Indonesia.
Amalia is looking for PhD. Oh yeah, that's even like, sorry, my yeah, even better.
That's even better, yeah. Because PhD is that.
This is a specific, Amalia, if you're still watching. This is a specific scheme for PhD. For PhD, they're not like differentiate you as the locals. As long as, again, like I said earlier, the number one important thing is like when you are able to meet in the middle with the professors, you know, that they love your research proposal and you also love their research, the research that they are doing, you're good to go. Yeah.
Yep. And yeah, I always, when my advisee come in to ask for those kind of funding, I told them that if you are trying to apply for the master, they probably have some, but it's always kind of like less available for master program compared to PhD. So yeah, we learned this TA or RAs actually from our PhD advisees, Fina, yeah. And so yeah, if you're applying for a PhD, you can totally seek out the availability of TA or RA, especially if you are in the more science or STEM field and that is into like research. Usually those research funding are more available. And for teaching, I would say it depends on which program you're applying to as well. All right. So move to Florencia. May I know what is the fall application deadlines for US University mostly? I think if Fina have covered this, it will be kind of like for fall, for fall intake or enrollment. It will be like a year before, and by the end of the year, like September, October, November, and December, and early on that year, like January until March. But it will depend on the admission office. And I have heard my advisor telling me that once there's this program that he wants to apply to, and they send an email before the deadline telling them that if we already got like certain amount of number of applicants, they will close it early. So being early is a lot more valuable or more important than you think. So not only coming to us, but researching it early on and knowing your deadline and asking the admission office, when is your recommended time for me to submit, because I'm an international student. Because I already have, I don't know how many advisees telling me that they want to submit it a month before the deadline that is stated on the website, because the admission office told them to do that, right? And it's just because it's what they recommend for international students. Because we tend to need more time once we kind of, got accepted and everything. We still need more time to apply for the student visa and everything like that to prepare to go, right? So it only makes sense that they, suggest you to submit it as soon as possible, even though before the deadline, right? So yeah, this is our prime or very busy time, yeah, Fina, because the deadline is approaching. Like you
Yeah.
said, we have so many new advices these days that it's going to be hard for you to just maybe like just pop in and, you know, directly meet Fina or me because we are usually already in a session. So, but still try. And if you cannot catch any of us, please don't give up and email us and do whatever you can to try again. Okay. Because you don't have to pay anything with
Yeah,
us.
and then so yeah, what I'm trying to say also is that if it's just kind of like really hard to get Simi or Santika, try again.
Yes, don't give
And
up
keep
on that.
trying. Keep trying. There are actually some people who just kind of like so hard to get Simi or Santika to the point like they gotta wait for like until 2 weeks, 3 weeks or something, and then yeah, just keep trying.
Yeah, and sometimes we have to kind of like, I don't know, when I feel so bad that I miss the same person over and over because I already have someone inside, I just, you know, like, okay, it's not my shift already, it's over, but you know what? I have a spare of 30 minutes. Let's do it, you know. But it will be very fruitful 30 minutes of discussion. That's why if you can come to us with a very specific goal that you have, it will be better for Fina and me to guide you throughout your process, right? All right. So moving to media, I think this is also interesting, Fina. Hi. What if we are certain with the purpose, but we feel like our portfolio or achievements is not or not related to, you know, even enough to apply for a scholarship? Wasn't an active, so she wasn't an active one back in the university, and also about passing the GRE and GMAT. It is quite scary. So yeah. What do you think, Tina?
So I think this is like a really good question. Thank you, Vidya. I think this is like two different things. We are certain, like, what if we are certain with the purpose? So the way I look at it, that's kind of like something that we want to put in the statement of purpose in the essay, right? But we feel like our portfolio or achievement is not related. So that the way I look at it, that's kind of like something that you would put in your resume. So I would say that's like two different things because, and this will make more sense when you attend the essay session 2 weeks from now. I keep forgetting the date. On the 16th, September 16th, because a teaser for you guys, for you also, Vidya, that we do not want to put whatever it is in from the resume in the essay. So it's basically kind of like two separate things. So even though you feel that, I'm not really that active to the point like where I can kind of like maybe guess that your resume or your CV might be just kind of like okay, well, that gives them more reason for us to work really good on the essay, which is the purpose. The purpose is pretty much you're creating a story about what it is that you want to do with the major, with the program. And if you're still kind of like confused, what do I mean by that? Just think about what is it that you want to do in the future. Whereas with the resume, it's something that you have done in the past up until today. We don't want that timeline in the essay. The essay is something that we want to do in the future. So don't worry about what you have in your resume, but as long as you know what you want to do, we are good to go, especially when you decide to see me or Santika. So then that means we already have what we are going to say in the essay, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that totally makes sense to me, just because it's probably because I know that it's two separate things. So what you are telling in the story in your essay versus your CV and resume shouldn't be something that's 100% the same. It's going to be different if you just, go into deeper on one of the item, for example, like your current work. That's different with you telling the story like, oh, I graduated from 2015 and I worked here for 2 years and then I moved to this and that company. So that is totally different with you just reciting the CV and resume. Okay. So yeah, come to find us, Vidya, if you need more help on those things. But yeah, I also answered in the chat that the US universities and programs are very supportive of anyone who apply from a different background, or they call it interdisciplinary, unless that program state that you need certain qualifications or like bachelor degree in whatever to apply, then you are good to go. And sometimes they could, put in those you need like certain courses in order to apply for this program. So those are like prerequisites classes that you have to work on, but that is also most of the time you will have time to work on that. So you can consult with the admission office for that if they have like any courses that you need to take, like the prerequisites. You can totally consult to them as well. GRE and GMAT, I have give out the good news that due to this pandemic, a lot of the program and university actually waived them. So this is kind of like the golden time for everyone who didn't apply to the States because of the GRE or GMAT. And, they have so many of the university kind of like waive it in terms of like, okay, no need for GRE and GMAT. It became an optional thing, a lot of them. So yeah, this is your chance if you know you don't do well on those things, okay? And next one is from Dealita, still continuing on test, Fina. So I haven't prepared my IELTS, and do you have any advice on how long to prepare the IELTS on average? I usually tell my advisees, if you never taken any English standardized test before, like TOEFL IBT or IELTS or DT or whatever English test, you never taken them before and you never studied for them before, you probably want to give it a year before you actually kind of reach your best score, because then if you are juggling with work, with everything else in between, then 1 year is very, very soon. And if you don't go to any like intensive courses and whatever, 1 year self-study is just I think it's just very enough. But always go back to your English level. Nobody is the same for this area. So this is just a suggestion that you start as soon as possible, which is the same as when you start to prepare your US study plan that Fina and I recommend, which is at least 1 year before. You want to start looking at those things like the standardized test that you need, okay? So start at least 1 year before if you are really have no idea what those things are, okay? And speed up if you scored really badly in your first practice test. You need to speed up, all right? Because that's like the basics of requirement to go to the United States. I forgot if Ina have mentioned this, but we talk about GRE is somehow a bit more flexible compared to English standardized test score. So if they ask for 80 for TOEFL IBT, that means they really need you to have at least 80. The tolerance level for English standardized test score is a lot less compared to GRE. So for GRE, they don't even mention like minimum of this much score needed. It's because they only have the range, right? Of the successful or accepted students, student profile, how much their average GRE or GMAT scores are. But for TOEFL IBT and other English standardized tests, they usually put in the minimum, like minimum of 7.0 or 7.5 for IELTS and 85 or 90 for TOEFL IBT, things like that. So it is very clearly stated. So English proficiency is one of the things that Fina and I are think it's a basic kayak modal kamu untuk sekolah ke Amerika. Okay? All right. So move to next question. Fina, do you want to discuss any questions?
No, I'm just
so many questions.
So many questions, you guys. You guys are amazing. Like,
amazing.
I love all this question. So I really do. I mean, I know that Santika answered a lot of this, maybe all of
Feel
this.
free to pick them.
You can. But like, I really do, because, like, there are a lot of people who are not watching this through Zoom, and I would love to kind of like share this kind of questions to other people as well. But I don't know which one to choose. I want to do like all of them, but then we only have like about 15 minutes here.
Exactly.
So
that's why I answered most of them in the chat box.
Yeah, otherwise,
we don't have enough time.
Yeah.
Right?
That's why I'm really thankful for having Santika here. And I told you guys in the beginning, right, that you guys are going to have so much fun with Santika during my presentation, because Santika, you interact with all the students. But oh my goodness, like seriously, like these questions are just amazing, guys. I don't even know like which one to pick.
Okay, then when you are trying to pick for one to discuss, I will go to Widia's next question here. I think also very good. How do we ask our lecturer to give letter of recommendation? Do we have the form already, or we should provide? So these days, most of the application platform is already electronic. So what you gotta do is actually insert atau masukin email recommender kamu, and they will send certain link to your recommender, and the platform will depends if it's going to be uploading a file for your recommendation letter, or kind of like filling in the form for to recommend you. It will depends on the university itself, and it will be discreet, like, how do I call it? Oh, confidential. So you weren't supposed to be there, but most Indonesian recommenders or referee will show you first. Look, this is the letter. How is it? Is it okay? Is it good to go? Sometimes, most of the time, they will do that, so you will already know what's in the letter. So yeah, that's that. For let's see, for the form or like the template, I would say the template is usually, if it's in it's in a file attachment, the file should have like cup letter, like the logo of the institution or the company, and then it should be in the letter format. So to whom it may concern and something like that. And then at the end, it should be like a date and a signature, right? So you should also help your recommenders to help you, of course. So by providing your important information, like your resume or your CV, where you are applying to this program in university A, B, or C. So you have to list them down, because then all of the US universities will require you to submit the recommendation letter. You don't want to come back and forth to your recommender just to, hi Pa or Bu, can you like change this part and then submit it for this university? So you come to them with already a list of universities and program that you want to apply to, so that they can just make everything in advance and just submit it. Okay. And also give them a list or bullet points of the things that you would love them to highlight and include in the letter, and make sure none of those qualities are the same for each of the recommender. So you want each of your recommender to give a different aspect, or vouch for you in a different way. Okay, that's gonna make it much more beneficial for you, and stronger for your letter of recommendations. And also, do not write your own letter. So what I said is bullet points or points, not the full sentences, which means writing your own letter. Because if you write your essay and then you write your own letter, what are the chances that these admission officer or committee members who happen to read so many essays in a day will just catch on your writing style? Oh, this is the same thing. So the student write his or her own, letter of recommendation, which should be confidential, and it is a breach of ethical conduct and trust and whatever bad things that follows after that, and you're just automatically disqualified or rejected. So we don't want to risk that. Okay. It is the last thing that we want to do, because even if you reapply, if that's the case, even if you reapply and if they still remember you, that's gonna be bad. Okay. And not to scare all of you, but even Fina and me, we are not even native speaker, but when we read something that's out of your style among your essay, so for example, you just did this introduction, right? And then you copy paste something from the article or like official document or whatever, and then you paste it on your essay. And then when we read it, we're like, how is this part different from the rest of your essay? And then Fina and I will go like, hey, so this point is really, really good. Can you write like this for the rest of your essay? And then that's a problem. The advice you will say, but actually I just take that from an article. So yeah, that's how we can tell, right? That actually happens, with one of my advising. So we can totally tell, even if we are not a native speaker. Can you imagine the native speaker who are trained to read those things? They will just catch it like this. Okay, you don't want to mess with the comedy like that. Okay.
And they
All right.
value
Enough about that.
honesty. Yeah, they value
So
honesty.
much.
So once they catch you on that, they will disqualify no matter like how strong your GRE is or what have you. So we don't want to.
Yeah, even if you have a 4.0 and everything like that. And then on top of that, you also want to make sure that what am I gonna say? So yeah, they will disqualify you, and you don't want that to happen, because then they will, I don't know, they will just remember kind of like, oh, this happened with your application, and if you reapply and if there's a record, that's gonna be bad. Okay.
Mhm. All right, so I have picked 10 of
Wow.
the best
Okay.
questions. I think we have 10 minutes, or maybe even last 7 minutes. Let's see if I can do it in 10 minutes. All right, ready, guys? Actually, go back to like the very first question that we got from this event tonight. Maybe this person needs, deserve like a prize or something. No, just kidding. But it's from Winda Wulandari from Zoom. Actually, I love this question. Is GRE or GMAT also? Basically, all these questions are already answered by Santika in Zoom. So if you guys, I'm just kind of like wanna kind of like share it verbally, just in case you are not watching this in Zoom. But Santika have answered in Zoom chat. So Winda Wulandari from Zoom, is GRE or GMAT also required for PhD? Most likely yes, but it depends. There are, again, the keyword here is decentralized. There are so many similar PhD programs in the US, but one PhD program to another may have different things. So I know that there are programs where if they say something like, if you have been in, like professional work for more than 7 years or something, you are waived for GRE or GMAT. Or even if they put GRE or GMAT on their website, again, this is the power of being yourself known by the professors, because I actually have a PhD advisee where they've been in contact with the professor so much, they let them know that, hey, I don't have the time, to be completely honest with you. I don't have the time to do the GRE or GMAT, GRE, I think. And then the professor were just like, yeah, just, it's okay. Just don't submit it. And then we're still reviewing our application. And then it's really case by case. All right. So it really depends on the university. That's that. Fatia Nurrahmani from Zoom. I think all of the questions are from Zoom. Will the Zoom consultation conduct in a group or private? Basically, when we do one-on-one advising, it's going to be in private. It means that there won't be any like EdAmerica team or anything like that. So it's definitely just between you and I. However, that's the one-on-one advising session. But if you think that you have your friends with you who wants to kind of like do this together, we can make it a group, but just the group between us. All right. But just so you know that this is not going to be like a public or anything. This is going to be just between us, no recording or whatever. Okay. Which is, I think it's an interesting question. We got one from Anissa Puji Lestari. Is EdAmerica having an event about Fulbright application preparation? Of course. Unfortunately, we didn't have one last year, but hopefully we'll have to see again. But hopefully we're going to have one this year, but just stay tuned. Normally we're going to have it like sometimes like in November, because the deadline for Fulbright is February every single year. Okay. Next one, Belfiana Tamarani. Hi, does Fulbright scholarship covers all the tuition fee of MBA in US? Karena seperti chevening, mereka hanya cover maximum 22,000 euro or partial. Thank you. Yes, it's pretty much the same where with Fulbright, but then you definitely want to double check if they maybe change the nominal or something on their website, which is aminef.or.id, but it's pretty much the same scheme with chevening. They do have like a cap funding. And then but then at the same time, they allow co-funding. So even if you want to apply to highly selective universities, there are definitely more than what Fulbright can pay, as long as Fulbright gives you the go, kind of like the green light for you to get to that slight, more expensive tuition. And then the university happens to, like allow co-funding from their side, or maybe you have like your own personal funding, you're pretty much good to go. You're pretty much good to go. Okay, hopefully that helps as well. We don't have actually a question on LPDP. This is interesting, but cool. It means that I think you guys already know all about it. We got one from Lily in Zoom. Can we choose one university but apply to your majors? The answer is I don't know about like other countries. I don't know. No, can you do that? Please let me know. I just kind of like curious. In the US, absolutely, and I've seen some of my advisors do that. One they would do MBA, and then the other one would do kind of like public policy or something like that. So yeah, the answer is definitely yes, which I think is also interesting. We got another one from Lichita Indra. Hi, I just wondering, is there any website that could help us to find suitable program and universities in the US with using keywords, etc.? Something like Study in Holland website, where, well, as much as I like to tell you that, well, you can go to educationusa.state.gov, but you know, I mean, it's a really great website as well. But in terms of looking for the right program, I don't think it's enough, or I don't think there will be, or there is a website that allows you to go deeply, you know, like really learn about the program. But you can get all the programs that you need to the respective universities. But before that, I understand what you're trying to say here. Santika and I, we love Google. So just play around with the keywords. What I like to do first, so let's say you want to do MBA specifically in entrepreneurship. Play around with the keywords. MBA, US University, entrepreneurship. Google that, especially if you can actually change the setting of if you're using Google Chrome or something, change the setting, because my browser is actually set up to be so that the location is actually in the US, so that all the results are actually US based. But even if you use Indonesia, is fine. This is kind of like my tips. But so do that keywords, and then what you want to do first, try to find any kind of like institution, website, or whatever, where they can list the ranking that has pretty much MBA in the US, that specifically in entrepreneurship. So website like US News, or QS ranking may allow you to get that rank. But then, like I said earlier, don't stop on that rank alone. Then look for that individual universities from that list for you to kind of like go to that individual website. And then that's when you really dig in really deep about the program, and then ask yourself, do I have what I'm looking for here? If not, move on, find another one. Okay, really good question. Julianti Huki, I wonder if any of your advisees were successful for getting waived, such as fee application or standardized tests. What qualification that is measured when we ask for waive? The answer is, oh yeah, absolutely. Even maybe just to share, especially if you want to do MBA, I don't know the exact website, and my advisors actually shared with me, but I think I lost that, which I'm really bad in like saving all this information. But she basically able to do GMAT for free, and she got even like twice 2 opportunities to take the test, GMAT for free. And she even told me that please share it with your advisees, and now I'm sharing it with the world now, and maybe now all the world already knows about this. But you go to the official website for you to register for GMAT. So I think it's about MBA.com. If I need to website, I don't know exactly where, but again, play around with the keywords on Google. I don't know, or MBA.com, something like that. And then for the fee application, oh yeah, absolutely. It's not like a lot, but I mean, I definitely have an advisor in the past where they just simply email the admissions committee like, hey, would you be willing to give me like a application fee waiver? And they give it. So yeah, it's possible. Wenda Brata Bastanta Naibaho. Wow, that's a really cool name. Will the recording video be uploaded in your YouTube channel? Yes. So just give some time, maybe like 24 hours or maybe even more, depending on our team. But yeah, our EdAmerica team is going to work on putting this session to our YouTube channel. Okay, so I believe it's youtube.com/ATAmerica AA at the end. Julianti Huki, again, I assume that when we actively communicate with the admission officer, we may get a higher chance. No guarantee, but there are some cases where the answer to this question is yes. So absolutely, if you can get a chance to actively communicate with the admission officer, then I would say yeah, we would kind of increase your chance. Celine Kusnadi, hi, I was wondering if taking additional coursework will help or hurt the chances of getting into grad school in supplementing the chances of getting in, especially when pursuing for scholarship. Thanks. Taking an additional coursework, unless they ask, I wouldn't really think so. But then at the same time, I don't want to also say that no, you don't do it. But probably will look good on your resume or CV, but then that's it. Unless the university asks, as in, they require you to do some kind of like a prerequisites courses where you have to take it, then well, obviously you will have to take it. But if you just kind of like have, like extra time for you to do this additional coursework, I don't see why not. But then if you kind of like do this in the middle of like working on some other application documents where the deadline is coming soon, I would say no. I wouldn't really bother on that. Okay. Lily, again in Zoom, how about academic transcript in the university's website? It said that I have to send it to West. Yeah, so I'm just gonna like close probably this Q&A session tonight by kind of like talk about West just a little bit. I don't put that on my slides because it's not like for all campuses, but if you happen to get universities where they ask you to require you to do kind of like a WES service. So WES is World Education Service, is type of a course evaluation service. In Indonesia, we call it kayak penyetaraan, kayak as if you go to Kemendikbud and then you kind of like ask your courses that you've taken abroad to be disetarakan here in Indonesia. It's pretty much the same. Not all programs in the US requires that, but if you do, then unfortunately, you will have to do it. Why do I say unfortunately? Because, well, first, it costs a lot of money. And then that's something that I think it's not covered by the scholarship providers, like maybe Fulbright, but I don't know about LPDP. But that's something that you probably want to kind of like have the money in advance. And that's kind of like a lot because like you have to mail your unofficial, is it unofficial? Your transcript yang sudah dilegalisir, what is that in English? I forgot. Unofficial or is it official? I think unofficial. You have to mail the hard copy. So it's not like via email. You have to mail it to the West office. I think it's in New York or in New Jersey or something. It's in New York, if I'm not mistaken. And then that, mailing that document alone is actually crazily expensive. So yeah, unfortunately, if the university mention anything about West, you will have to do that. All right. Pohan Santoso, I just kind of like, look, this is, the very latest question. Is there any age limit for applying to graduate schools? If you're applying directly to the university, as in you're not relying to any kind of like scholarship, the answer is, well, I mean, with Fulbright, there is no age limit. Correct me if I'm wrong, Santika. Is there any age limit for Fulbright? No.
So actually, it's very vague in a way. They mention about age is how you are going to retire. So it's like, once you graduate, you still need like a few years before your retirement. So just in case you have to, contribute back.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, in terms of like the university itself, we never have seen an age requirement or limit.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
age limit or requirement is usually from like the scholarship institution, like LPDP, for example. There are like certain age limit for that. And yeah, that's about it. See.
Yeah, I mean, if you apply to like, I mean, in the US setting itself, in the US universities, there is no age limit whatsoever. You can apply like when you're like 40, 50 or whatever. But with LPDP, I know that there is an age limit. So that's something that you definitely want to check. That's it. Wow. Oh my goodness. 2 hours. Wow. Thank you guys so much. You have no idea. I really appreciate your time. I really do. You guys learn from this session tonight. You know what? I think the reasons why I don't actually do this every single month is pretty much because this session is so long. But again, like hopefully I don't overwhelm you too much. But don't worry, like and at the same time, I really do hope that you guys consider attending our other events, like, the one that we're going to have when we are inviting speakers, and also when we do the essay session. But yeah, I would like to thank you, Santika, so much for helping me be part of this event. Thank you guys so much for watching this session. Thank you, EduAmerica team. So yeah, I will see you guys again this coming Saturday. Don't forget, we got IELTS. And so yeah, I'm gonna give you back to our amazing e-guide, Aninda. Thank you guys so much. Have a good night.
Thank you so much, Kak Vina and Kak Santika, for the insightful session. It's been great having you with us. Earlier in this event, we asked our audience, the question was, the oldest institution of higher education in New York is, and the correct answer is A, Columbia University. Shout out to Charlie Novi from YouTube for answering correctly. Thank you to everyone who has participated to our question of the day. Don't forget to tune in next time to catch a chance to get a live shout out from us. Also, I mentioned our special activity this month with the giveaway AirPods. Wondering how to get it? You can simply create reels on Instagram with your best friend using song from Latin America artists. For more information, you can visit atam.tv/US Connected. Now, you may be wondering, how can I develop an awesome idea for a place like this? Don't worry, you can send your event proposal to us by visiting our website www.adamerica.org.id, select Create a Program, and go to Collaborate with us. All event proposals will be reviewed and your event might be featured here soon. You can also subscribe to our newsletter there for all our event weekly updates. Well, that wraps this episode. It's been fun. Unfortunately, we have to say goodbye. You can follow our Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at AT America for all our event updates, fun content, and so much more. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Well, thanks for joining us. Again, my name is Aninda, and see you next time. Bye-bye, everyone.